Good morning, class. So we are continuing, or we are starting a new lecture. All along, we've been talking about how to program management, health planning. So now we have a new topic. That talks about the concept of change and basically talking about the types of change, and then talking about change management. So that is what we want to talk about today. So I will share my lecture note now. Okay. Okay, so fine. Now practically, well, so, and I think this is the first of the two lectures we have under the main topic, transformational education. So the other one, we have that, which I think we'll cover tomorrow. We'll be talking about a collaboration, and basically actually mobilizing for change, or for to actually create the transformation. Basically, it deals with organizational transformation. Okay, how do we transform organizations, programs, platforms, and systems, teams in which we work? So, well, the hope is that okay, by the end of this lecture, every one of you should be able to become change managers in whichever work environment, work systems that you are in. You will be able to work as a change manager, and to know when exactly this status quo needs to change. But specifically, if a question comes out of here, you will be asked to actually differentiate, formal and informal methods of a change, and basically, and how this means in case you find a need to actually introduce a change in your program, in your organization, in your team, in your unit, or in our department. As an example, in the Department of Health Policy and Management, if you see that, look, that the status quo is actually problematic, and things need to change, how do you bring about that change? Which route? The Americans will say which route. I am not used to the word route. Which route of change, which method of change will you apply? We will also talk about the process of change, that actually constitutes change management. How do we how do we manage the change process? So, and the hope is that, okay, just as I said before, each of you will become a change agent and a manager of change in your establishments. So let us, since this is a new concept, so I think we should begin from the basics. What is change? So who is going to help us? Not many of us are here. Uh, Only 4 students are here. Okay, fine. So what is change? Olamiji, what is change?
Uh, change, change. I think a philosopher define change as a constant thing. So change is the difference we try to make when we take on an action.
Okay,
Is yes.
okay. Now the difference. Okay, that well, the now the difference that you want to achieve as a result of an action is called a goal. Okay, difference, a result, an achievement. So that the definition doesn't actually tell me, isn't actually specific about what changes. Okay, Jesus told me, sing. Can you try? What is change?
Okay, sir. I think change is like transitioning from one state to another,
Okay, okay,
or
okay,
movement from one place to
okay.
another.
Now that is actually more like it. Okay, okay. Nakola Oli, how about you? Kola Oli, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Okay, what is change?
Change means for something to become different, for something to transform or transition. And I've been trying not to use the same word for just missing just. So for something to become different,
Yeah.
to cause something to become different, either through transformation or transition.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, since James actually escaped. James didn't want me to call him or her. There is a member of your class that I haven't seen attending my sessions in a long time. And what is her name? No, the other lady, the class rep,
Moses.
Moses
Mrs.
Mary.
Moses.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, Mary Moses.
yeah, Nanifemi, Abi,
Uh,
whatever her name
she,
is.
yeah,
So,
Oluwanifemi.
please.
She will join now.
So tell her that I have actually noticed, as a pastor, I actually notice people who are not in church very, very easily. So, so as a teacher, therefore, I also know she has been absent now. So tell her that I am marking her down. Well, not actually negatively, but that I notice she isn't attending classes. Okay. Okay, fine. So this is basically my own definition, which you can feel free to actually discuss. Okay. So it says change is any shift. And can I just say any shift from the status quo? Okay, and you call it transition, you call it transformation, you call it, or a movement. Somebody used that particular word now, movement. Any shift in the status quo, okay, in an organization's structure, their strategy, the processes, their culture, the technology, the, their capacity, any shift, any movement, any transition, any transformation, okay, from the status quo, but that aims to improve the performance and adapt or respond to external pressures or deal with the prevalent problems in the status quo. So this particular definition means it is always to improve the performance, okay, to improve results, and to improve on the status quo. Change isn't like a few people do in our country. By the time they say, let us actually spoil things now for these people. Like as an example, like what they are trying to do. Take a budget, they see somebody is actually doing very, very well. There's a prospect that a particular opponent within the same party is going to win, under the election. They will now importing a virus and from another place. Take a budget, let us spoil everything. No, please. That is not the type of change we are talking about. The change we are talking about under transformational education is the change, the shift, the transition, the transformation that improves on the status quo. Okay? It improves the performance. It improves the quality. It improves, it makes progress towards achieving goals. It improves on the structure, the strategy, the processes. That is the way things are done. Culture, people's attitudes, to their work. Okay, as an example, you find yourself working in a team where everybody comes late to work. This is a common thing, particularly amongst the medical doctors, and especially those ones who work in the OPD, those ones who actually work in the clinics. The clinic should start by 9 a.m. and you see people, the patients waiting, queuing up, Dugbe. The whole OPD is all full, waiting for one doctor. By 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, he has not yet come. Only for him to now stroll in without apology to patients who have been waiting. And then he will just come, see 1, 2, 3, and the patient say, and the nurse he says that he has emergency. And he leaves all, and so the nurses will have to now shift his own patients to join to the other doctors. Haba. So that when you find a poor work culture, that is to tell you that, look, there is a need for things to change in this team. So all that you see that the technology is old, okay, and that because of the old or the poor or the inadequate technology, the work isn't moving very, very smoothly. No, that will tell you that, look, there's a need for us to change the way we do things. And the change will have to be a technological change. So that by the time you actually talk about different types of change, therefore the change can be a structural change, a strategic change, a process change, that is actually a methodological change, or a cultural change, or attitudinal change, or a technological change. Change or a shift in the status quo, okay, so that we improve the performance and adapt or respond to the pressures affecting the way work is done. Because there will always be there will always be the external pressures, and actually the manager needs to change things to respond to the pressures of funding, pressures to the resources, and pressures of maybe also management, and the pressures from above. It is possible the oga at the top, like actually the way, the people who were killed at the Lekki toll gate. The people said that the soldiers there, they received one particular order from above. Till today, the police hasn't told us, the army hasn't told us who gave that order from above. So that when you see that type of a pressure, if you find yourself as a manager who can change things, or you are not yet a manager, but you see the need for change to respond to these particular pressures that that are affecting your work, affecting the implementation. So when you, whatever shift, transition, and transformation, movement that you create, that is what we call change. So now, yeah, and therefore, this particular picture tells you that, look, as an example, that guy who is actually talking, chatting with his mates, trying to actually convince them that, look, there's a need for us to change things. Either the graph is actually going down, therefore we cannot continue to walk the way we are walking now. Every monitor, needs to be a change agent. Every manager needs to be a change agent. Because if you actually monitor the trends, and then the trends now show that, look, you should be going up. Instead, your figure shows you are going down. That means some things need to shift in the way the work is being done. Okay, so now talking about types of change. Okay, I have already talked about the different types of change, and the structural change, process change, technological change, and a cultural change. But when you actually talk about the types of change, we actually classify change not just in the type not just in the areas or the object of change, but in the way the change happens. Okay, that is why there are two extremes. Two extremes talking about the way change happens. Okay, there is the one that is called the developmental or called the adaptive change. Okay, so that is the change that happens very, very slowly. It is an ongoing change. It is the change that does not make noise, but yet it is happening. If you are made a new manager of a new team, and it is, and then the very first things when you do your situation analysis, and you have to ask yourself, where are we now? You will see very many problems telling you that, look, things need to change. Okay, and there are two ways you can approach that change in that your new team. Either you can do the change just as Retinubu did with with the way he actually removed the fuel and a subsidy. Either you can just go on the day that you are meeting your project team for the first time, and you just say fuel subsidy is gone. That isn't an adaptive change. That is a radical change that we call a transformational change. Okay, but if you don't make noise about it, you will still remove the fuel and a subsidy. But you go to your office and you start discussing with people on a day-to-day basis. You are making small changes, gradual changes towards removing fuel subsidy. Okay, so you will still remove it, but by the time you have actually removed it, the nation wouldn't even know. So whatever issues, the pressures that caused the problems relating to the fuel and the subsidy being there, you will be changing them little by little on a day-to-day basis. So the adaptive change is the change that actually responds to the challenges that the manager faces on a day-to-day basis, week after week, month after month, and you are introducing that gradual change. People will only notice that change has actually happened after, like, say, 6 months, 1 year. People will not say, since this person came to this particular office, things are no longer done the way we used to do before. But the manager didn't make any noise about it. Rather, he was just changing things one thing at a time, one step at a time, one challenge at a time, introducing new ways of the work culture, new ways of to actually mobilize funds, new ways to implement activities, new ways, small changes over time. So that type of change, the way that change happens, is what we call developmental or adaptive change. So the one that you just go and stand in your team and to just say fuel subsidy gone, exchange rate will float from now on, no more control, no more this, blah blah blah. Just as we actually experienced it in Nigeria, within one day the exchange rate in the naira to pound changed from say from net 250 in the naira to £1, it changed to over 1,005, and now it is now 2,000 naira to a pound. No, within 1 week, the whole country were all crying. So that is the type of change we call transformational change. There are times when it is good, especially if it is a revolution. Revolutions always bring radical changes, okay? But it also means that this side effect is also always bigger than that you will experience the effect of change, because every change has actually the effect. Okay, and some people will flow with the change, some people will oppose the change, and some people will work against the change. So there will always be positive and also the negative effects of change. I think we should only make a change where the positive benefit outweighs the negative risks. If that particular balance is not there, if the advantage does not outweigh the disadvantage, then the change is not necessary. And that is why we are actually training you guys now to know how to be change in managers or change in your agent, and how you can make whatever change that you bring about, okay, to improve on the status quo. Now there is the third type of a change that is actually that is not slow gradual change, and that is not also radical. It just moves from one stage of how we do things to another stage, okay, that is in between the status quo and the stage and the state where you want the organization, the team, the context to be. So that change that passes through intermediate it's a stage or stages between the old and the new. So that change is what we call transitional change. Okay, because you pass through a particular transition, which means that change is a not yet change. We are not yet there. Okay, you want to move from the old to the new, or to shift from the current to a new, but you don't just move directly, just change from the current to new, but you go through a transition stage. Okay, you are in A and you want to go to C, but if you first of all introduce a B, so before you move to C, so that type of change is what we call transition transitional change. And it is clearly defined. Okay? Yes. And so that please think about types of change, not just in terms of the object of change, that is what you want to change. Okay? And a structural change or technological change, agricultural change, behavioral change, all those changes, but also how the change happens. Okay, or actually, if you like, the process of change. Okay, so definitely you can discuss which types of a change do you think is best, and then what are the pros and cons. Maybe we actually spend time just talking about the pros and cons of these types of a change. You know, uh, okay, Mary is back. Auntie Mary. Uh, uh,
Sir,
we are missing you.
good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let us now discuss about the pros and cons of these three types of change. Okay, that is the types of a change that we talk about, in terms of how the change happens, rather than what you change. Okay, rather than the object of change. So now, what are the pros and cons of the developmental or the the, the adaptive change? Anybody? First of all, start from the pros. What are the what are the advantages or the good effects of an adaptive change? Yes, anybody? Okay. Uh, 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 if you are keeping quiet, then you then expect a question, concerning the pros and cons of the, the, the type of change in your exam. So, okay, what are the side effects of an adaptive change? Please talk. And I know we all know, these things. When change happens, gradually, you know, what are what what are the pros and the cons? What are the positives and the negative? Effects or sides, and the benefits and the risk of that type of change. Anthony, Jesus told me sing.
Okay, yes, sir. For the adaptive change,
Yes.
I think one of the advantages is that it gives enough time to actually invite the culture, and it's not sudden, so it gives there's flexibility and enough time. I
Okay,
think the con is
flexibility.
that it yes, sir. The con is that when there's resistance, you might not be able
Yeah.
to tackle resistance,
Yeah.
and there might be it can breed more resistance to the change.
Okay. Okay. Now, because it is actually happening in a small changes, during your departmental meetings and the staff meetings, you want to change one thing, small. The opposition might also, stand up and say, Oga, we have actually tried that before. And then you, who thinks that is the small change that you want to make, you may give up now easily. Thank you so much. Any other person? Nakola Wole, what are the pros and the cons?
I don't know if you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Pros and cons of the gradual change. So for me, the pros is that they are it's a less stressful
Yeah.
shift
The
in the sense that
resistance is also less.
yes. So since it's gradual, so
Yes.
it's less stressful. Um, Another advantage is that we can adapt it over time so that when we see errors with what we have done,
Yeah.
we can give it to improve the process.
Okay, you can
So
correct
that
the change
so that is
process.
another advantage there. So
Okay.
it can help with continuous improvement and while making the change.
Okay.
There's a disadvantage, a major disadvantage is that it's easier to abandon
Yep.
in the sense that we have not made so much significant change. So we can choose to once we see that the change is not what we are looking for, we're not getting the result immediately.
Yeah.
We might choose to just abandon the whole process and
Yes.
fall back into the former state that we were in.
The status quo. Okay.
Yes,
Easier to retreat.
yes, that is easier to retreat.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Bichoye. How about part of the radical change? You know, the transformational change. Uh, that the people who actually usually call for a revolution now. Revolution now, and you see them sing and they want to actually effect a change of a government radically. What are the pros and the cons of a transformational change? Ibitoye. Ibitoye is not there. Mary, what are the pros and the cons? What are the positive and the negative sides of a transformational change? Okay, that one too is not also there. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, let us continue. Okay, so well, and I think about that. Yes, I had wanted us to actually discuss this, change in depth. Okay, now let us go on. So now, this just tells us the, the again the two extremes. Okay, the adaptive change, that is the gradual change, incremental changes. You improve things gradually. Transformation change, that is revolutionary change, radical change, and you major shifts, major changes. Whereas the other ones, small, minor changes, but that eventually add up to a big change over time. But this one, you make major shift in the mission, in the structure, in the strategy, in the performance, in the process, in the management. Okay, at one time, and the changes usually suddenly happen. For example, when Oga feels that the team leader isn't actually doing well, he will change him. That is radical change. So please, just in case the question comes out of here, you should be able to define what the adaptive change, the transitional change, the transformational change, give examples, and then discuss the pros and cons. Okay, so that is it. So now, how do we effect change? So when we talk about the methods of a change, the method, they are basically the actions that we take in an org organization to change any of the underlying components. So the actions is the action is actually the process by which the change happens. So that is the method of change. Okay, so whatever approach that you take to change the any organizational component, management and the component, the process, the culture, the people, the product, the infrastructure, or the technology of an organization. So how you do it? So basically, there are two ways. Okay, either you use neither you use the official route to make a change, or you use the unofficial route. Okay, so that there is the method of change that we call a formal method of change. Formal methods use the official instruments, the official procedure. Instead of you to 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 actually effect change informally, formal change follows the official path, the lay down guidelines for effecting change. Organizations have actually lines of a communication. Okay, as an example, if you are just a member of a team and you want to change things within your own team, but you are not under the manager who has the power to make such change, but you want to pass through the official route to make that change happens. People will say follow the official line of uh, 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 a communication. If you want to speak to the boss of your boss, then the first person you need to actually speak to is your boss himself. Then your boss will take what you have told him to his own boss to bring about the change that you want. So, therefore, organizations have laid down rules as to how to effect changes, how to also discipline staff, how to improve the way things are done, how to make changes. Therefore, the types of change the type of change that follows the official route, the official route, is what we call formal change, or the formal methods of change. Example, okay, you can change things within your department during the planning stage. If you are a member of the planning committee, you can introduce the changes that you envisage in the team plan or in the project plan. Through that, your change then happens because you have brought it into the plan, and then your change gets implemented during the implementation of that plan. Therefore, formal planning is a way by which you actually effect change. And then, just as I said, you can actually follow the official channel of communication within your organization. You can write memos, official meetings, speak to people who have power, official responsibilities to make those changes. Now, for example, if I want to change, if I see you working, that is Ministry of Health in Ondo, in Akure, okay, and I want to change anything that is in the hospitals or that is in the PHC. And if I want to effect that change and officially, then people will say, go and see neither the director of a hospital services or go directly to the Commissioner of Health. And then if I am able to convince the Honorable Commissioner, the Commissioner will now use official channel to call for the director of that particular department where the change needs to happen. That is you following the official communication channel. You can write letter, you can write memos, you can attend the meetings, okay, and you can share whatever information, through the official channel to bring about a change. Okay, the other type of a formal method of a change is actually when you follow the hierarchical approval process. Okay, where you find any hierarchy, you don't bypass any level. And that's an example where you have the team leader, the unit leader, the departmental leader, the directorate before the CEO. For you to effect change in the whole, that will affect the whole organization, you need to seek approval step by step. Each level, so the approval comes level by level until it gets to that level that has the power to effect the change. And then the other thing is that you can actually create there's a dedicated team that will execute the change. Okay, that is, of course, if you have the power to do so. Most of our meetings, when we discuss and then we actually find out that, look, we need to make this change, very, very often, the chairman will say, let us raise a committee that will carry it out. And a committee that will go over to the community to discuss with the chiefs, and then they will now come back to the organization to then give feedback. So that is also that is a formal method of a change. People very often they call that one a management by committee. Okay, where that for every change that you need to effect, then you raise a team, dedicated team, or a committee that will go to study the problem and identify the obstacle and effect the change. Then the other way that you can also effect changes is through job descriptions. Okay, when you change the roles of your staff, change their job descriptions. So that is also formal methods of a change, so that people cannot say this change is not part of my own responsibility. When you change their job, you just tell them that, look, you are actually overhauling the JDs, the job descriptions of every member of our team, and you give every person new JDs that will reflect the change that you want to introduce. Because it is official, then that change has to happen. Because every person will start performing the role, the responsibilities that have been assigned to them. So these are the formal methods of change. Of course, where you have the formal, you also have informal. Okay, the informal methods of change, they don't actually rely on the official protocols. No, they actually follow in informal routes, using informal means to bring about change. Okay, so just as you can actually see here, they rely on the social dynamics, like you see in quite a lot, that is in the politics uh, of our country, Nigeria. Okay, the country is seeking to actually make noise through the social media. Asking Tinubu must go. Tinubu must go. That is not official. If people want to change in the government, they should wait till they should wait till the next election. But by the time you start to talk on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, blah, 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 the government must change, the government must change, you are trying to put pressure on the government through informal routes. Okay? And then, so all that, very, very often, you also make changes by establishing new relationships, informal relationships within the organization, such as you actually befriending the head. As an example, if the head of an organization happens to be your friend, your uncle, but you work under another boss who will not allow your change to happen, but then that your other boss is a junior staff to your uncle, you can actually leverage the relationship you have with his boss by going directly to your uncle, to your friend, to your classmate, to your to your political connection, so that the informal changes, the examples are what are actually listed here. So that the other first one is when you actually leverage your informal connection. People talk about the people who are actually highly connected, that they are the ones able to make changes. We all know that actually that the children of a people who are in a power hardly go for any job and for any job interviews. You won't see the child of a senator going to sit to be interviewed for a bank job. The senator just gives him here's a complimentary card. Come, take this to the CEO of that organization where you want to work. without interview, they will just ask him, when are you ready to start? That is actually informal. And the true connections. So through what we call informal on the networks, so that when you take advantage, when you actually leverage on the connections you have, your social connections, your peer influence. If your classmate is the judge going to judge over your case, you just go to his house and you discuss your case over a cup of tea. That actually means that before you even go to court to stand on the trial, the judgment is already prepared during your meeting where you sat over a cup of tea. Yes, these things, people say they are wrong. They are wrong because they are not formal. Okay, but it happens. And I can tell you, in the business world, in the political world, and in fact, in most organizational behavior, changes happen following informal processes, such as that. Then the other one is actually building trust. Where that, okay, you as an employee, you win over the trust of your team leader. You make him trust you by you working hard, and he sees the way you are working. So once the trust is actually established, whatever change that you wish to make becomes easier, because your team leader, he or she will definitely listen to you, because he has seen, you have built some level of trust. We actually, if you know the Bible, the example of this is actually Joseph. Joseph in a Potiphar's house, where the Bible says that actually he is a boss, left actually everything in his estate in the hands of a Joseph, because he trusted him. Even though Joseph was actually the newest as a servant in the house. So he actually wormed his way into his master's house, and he trusted him to actually manage his whole estate. Whatever change that the Joseph wanted to make, he could make those changes because his master trusted him. But then that was the same trust that the master's wife used against him, by actually telling her husband that, see, the man that you trusted tried to take advantage of me. So the effect, once your the trust also backfires, the effect is always very, very drastic, because people do not like actually to be betrayed. So that is the side effect of you trying to build trust, to make changes. So when any issue, any problem, if that change does not happen the way you had actually expected, the effect is always drastic, because it will be seen as a betrayal. So the other way is that actually, you can use organic means of a communication, where actually employees discuss their concerns. They actually gossip at work. They ask questions, and then you who is their oga, you only hear what they are actually discussing informally. And then by them sharing their concerns and asking questions informally, you get to know the areas where they are actually seeking for change. Then the other way people often try to effect change, particularly the route used by people who are revolutionalists. No, they try to use grassroots influence. No, you want to change, to make a change within the community. You go over to the community, raise awareness. Then, particularly and among the youths, then the youths, they will all gather, they will all go over to the governor's office and say, we want the road that leads to our town to be constructed. That is informal. The the formal route that they were supposed to take is is actually for them to write. But it's possible one particular politician who wants to actually take over from the governor starts to actually create unrest at the ward level, where that particular governor is there from. So, and then begins to put grassroots pressure for change. Then the last one is actually the last one there, which is the mutual adaptation. And basically is a when the team begins to actually adapt naturally to the changing needs of the organization. The circumstances, can themselves make people change. The adjustments happen on their own, and rather than following any structured plan. Changes just happen because people adapt to the needs and the pressures within their environment. So all these are all informal methods of change. Do we understand this? Any question on this so far? Do we understand? Please talk to me. Do you understand formal, the formal and
Yes, sir.
informal change? Okay, and so that where you now see any need for you to effect a change within your team, your unit, the department, your ministry, your faculty, or the entire university, and I think it was actually yesterday, that a guy said, this is a planning in thing that it is actually too big, and for one on a lecture, that it actually should be a course on its own, the planning course. I said, and it is now. The planning course is what? HPM, is it 824 be 823? No, that has broken down planning, lectures. But if that guy doesn't agree, and he now wants to actually effect change by him using the connection he has with the VC. Whatever he tells us at the VC, then the VC will now call the dean. Then the dean will now call me, who is actually the HOD, and they wouldn't even tell me that it was the guy, the student in class who raised the concern that has gone behind everybody to try to effect a change through the VC. All that is actually him just trying to only leverage informal connection to effect change. So now I don't know which one you think works best. Okay, if I seek your own view, which method of a change do you consider to be the most effective in the Nigerian context? Yes? Unanifemi, which one do you think works better? You want to change anything, as an example, in a Unimed? Which one works better? Which one works faster? Which one gives you the desired effect of a change quicker? Is it the formal or the informal? Nifemi Moses, Mary. Oh, yeah, talk now. You have unmuted yourself. Hey. Oh, yeah, Kolawole, now you're also there? Because it appears people are not listening to me.
Please, the question again, sir.
Okay. Now, if you compare formal method of change and the informal, which one works better in the Nigeria context?
Okay, sir. Thank you. In Nigeria context, from experience, I've actually discovered that the informal works better.
Okay.
Because we are this is I'm a program manager of Abiyamo scheme. So
Okay.
for fund release, even after writing, the files are not treated.
Yes.
Until probably we have informal relationship
Yes.
with the people that are supposed to treat the file. So
Yes.
they are not giving it utmost attention until probably they discover, okay, is this person, and all that, we have discussed informally, and then
Yes.
it will not be treated. And you'll be surprised that if 10 people need to treat that file that same day,
Yes.
all the 10 people will be available to treat it.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah. Now, whereas organizations should not run that way. Organizations that actually work well, they should effect the changes using the formal lay down on a process of change. So, but now we know that actually, in a way, whether political, whether scientific, whether educational, whatever context, that you look at, organizational behavior. You expect deformal methods to work right. You want things to change, you write to the head of that organization, and then the head now passes it to the department that should deal with it. And sharp, in 2 days, you already see the change happening. But at times, in most of our African context, that is not how it is. And so that itself needs to change. So how we change that organizational and a behavior, that is something we need to discuss as a class. How do we change the attitude of a Nigerian time? And the Nigerian, where that you call people to come to a class that should begin at 9 o'clock, and the teacher is actually waiting 10 o'clock, the class isn't really complete. Why? To say Nigerian time, we thought the teacher will not come on time. It is a big problem. Okay? It is a big problem that needs to change. But how do we change the phenomenon of a Nigerian time? In a program that should start by 10 a.m. doesn't start until 4 p.m. because the ogas who should declare it open, they have not arrived. So for us to effect those changes, we need to find the right method. And that is the skill every one of you should learn as a change manager. You use the route, the method that will best achieve the change that you think will improve the performance of your organization or of your team or of your department. Now, if we now talk about your role as change managers, usually the responsibility to implement change falls upon the shoulders of the program managers. Okay, the people at the grassroots, often they are not empowered to effect the changes. Then the people at the top, those ones, they can make changes that are strategic but not operational changes. Therefore, it is the program manager who actually uh, operates at the middle management level that often has the responsibility to introduce and to implement change. So there are different ways by which we effect the change. And those different ways are what constitutes the concept of change management. So the change management, therefore, is a process by which we effect change, and by which you prepare and you support individuals, team, and the department, and the leaders in making change or changes that will affect the whole organization. Okay, so these changes should be documented, and then they should be managed in a way that the desired change is successfully achieved. So there are different models of a change. Okay, different process of change management. So, sorry. Okay, so typically, so the easiest model is the one that is called the PDCA cycle. Okay, the PDCA cycle is the change management model that actually begins from planning, saying that, look, if you see there is a need for change in the structure, change in the process, change in the government, change in the infrastructure, change, so that the first thing you do is you plan. You plan how that change will happen. So that P stands for plan. Then do means that you implement your plan. Okay, do. plan, do, check, act. Then when you implement your plan, then you actually monitor the plan, check whether the plan is actually bringing about the change. Is the plan working? If it is not working, then you make adjustments. And then before you then go on to act, to correct the problem areas. Okay, so that when you go to the second round, of planning, you actually improve the way that change is implemented. So the PDCA cycle is plan, do, check, and act. You plan the change, you do the change, you check the change, how it is actually performing, and then you make changes, you act. You act on the way to make sure that change is effective before you go around again to the next cycle of plan, do, check, act. So that is the one we call PDCA. Okay? So the one we want you to go away with generally from this class is a 5-step process of change management. And this one follows the follows the formal route of change, the using the formal method of change, not informal. Informal doesn't follow any step. An informal follows the step that will best achieve its objective. So that the steps of change management we are talking about is actually the formal method of change. And we say that the first step you take as a change manager, if you see a change that must happen, is you need to request the change. So this step is different from the PDCA in a model, please. So the PDCA, you plan. It is possible that a request might be a part of the plan. But if you see any change, the first thing you do is to request officially. Okay? So you request the change before you then analyze the impact of that change. So now I'm sure you have actually heard about the term impact assessment. Or if it is in a health, it is possible you have actually heard about the health impact assessment, which is the assessment of the impact that you do before you even prepare the proposal. So that you want to change the road or the network in your city, you first of all design the new network. But before you go on to apply for funding, they will ask you to conduct a health impact assessment of that your plan. What will be the impact on the health of the people, either during deconstruction, before the construction, during the construction, after the construction? What are the benefits? What are the risks? What are the damages it might cause? So that is so that you need to actually analyze the impact of the change you have actually requested before you then submit your proposal for for approval rather. And that is the third stage. That is the approval stage. So you have identified the need for change and you have requested for the change. You have analyzed the impact and you have seen that the benefit of the change outweighs the risk. Then you submit the proposal for the change. And at this stage, the people who should formally approve, they can say yes, they can say no. So if they say no and they actually basically your proposal, then that your proposal dies there. Maybe that is the point you cannot decide to now find one of the informal methods of a change if you still want to bring about the change. But if they approve, then you go on to implement the change. We will soon talk about the 3 steps that you follow after the proposal has been approved. Okay, so the step number 4 is implement the change. 3 steps there. And then once you have implemented the change, always you review. And then you monitor the change and you evaluate the change. Okay, it is always important that you conduct a review of the change because that is what the PDCA also says under check. Okay, planning includes requesting, health assessment, and a proposal. The do stage talks about the stage 4, where you carry out the change according to the proposal. And then the check is when you actually review the change. Okay, the change. So the results of that particular review, the things that if that change is not working well, you can correct them. So the PDCA has the last step that says you act. You act on the results of the review. But these 5 steps tells you it ends in the review. Of course, after you have carried out the review, it is possible you might need to go back again to stage 1 to repeat the process as a whole. Okay, and then so the stage 4 of implementing change, 3 steps. Once the change has been approved, you need to pass through the preparation phase, and the strategy selling phase, and the vision selling stage, and then you then implement the change according to the approved proposal. So the fact that to prepare the organization means you prepare the ground to implement the change that has been approved. Preparation stage sets the scene. Okay, and it is vital because even if you have a good intention for the change, if you did not prepare your staff, you did not educate them, you did not create awareness, okay, the change might not happen, even though you followed the official and the protocol to get it approved. So the preparation stage is actually vital. So once you have now prepared them, then you must develop a vision and you prepare the plan. Okay, well, the plan is already approved. So the vision is where you sell the goals of the change to the people who should effect the change. they must understand, they must agree, they must flow with your vision, because that is what leaders do. Leaders usually lead by a vision. Revolution happens where the vision is clear to everybody as to where the change is carrying the people to. What do the people stand to benefit after the change is implemented? So the people need to actually understand. So the vision, the plan needs to be explained in detail. Even if you want to actually implement a change at the community level, you need to sell it. Prepare the community leaders, prepare the ordinary people in the community, and then sell the vision to them. Explain their plan to them before you go on to the implementation stage. Okay, so the preparation, just as I was saying before, during the preparation stage, you identify the reasons for the change, why the change is actually necessary, and you raise awareness among the employees about the change. So during the vision and the strategy phase, you create a clear vision, and you develop detailed step-by-step plan or step-by-step outline. Let people understand that, look, the change might follow a gradual change, a transitional change, or a transformational change, which is actually radical. Okay, and then you assign the roles people have. And then you also assemble a change management team, the people who will implement the change. So the implementation stage is when they execute the change, and they also monitor the change. They also review the change, remembering the PDCA cycle. They also act on the result of the review. So very, very often you might need to actually provide training to the team or the committee that you need to use to effect the change. So please note these 5 steps and the 3 phases in the implementation stage. So these are all different models that you can use for you managing change within your organization. So now, so basically, so that is all that I wish for us to cover in this lecture. So if you are giving this question in your exam, why do change initiatives fail? Can we discuss this? Let me come back. Why do change initiatives fail? Who can actually give us an idea? Why do change initiatives fail? Anybody? You have a change a plan to improve the performance of your work team, and yet after you have carried out either the 4 PDCA stages or the 5 request, uh, uh, yeah, request the change, okay, and then you also prepare, yeah, yeah. So you have actually requested for the change. You have also analyzed the impact of the change. You have gotten the approval for the change, and then you have implemented the change following the three-step model of prepare, develop, implement. Okay? And then you have now reviewed the change, whether it was effective or not. If it still fails, why? Yes? I will want each of you to actually give me one reason why a change initiative might fail, especially within the Nigerian context. Let us begin from Auntie Mary. Mary Nifemi Moses. Just one reason why a good change initiative that is actually requested, impact assessed, an approval requested, and received, and then implemented in a review, and yet the change failed. Why? One person. Nifemi Moses, are you there at all? Okay. Jesus told me, sing. Give me one reason why a change initiative might fail.
Okay, sir. So I think a change initiative might fail if people are not properly communicated with. They don't know the essence, the importance of the change, and so they might develop and create resistance to that change. So
Okay.
if there is improper communication, there can be
Yes.
resistance to change, and it will fail.
Of course. So, and that is why when you are actually implementing your change, remember the PDI. Okay? Prepare. Prepare the people, educate them, develop the vision, the strategies, and explain it to them before you reach the implementation. If you don't follow the PDI and the steps to implement your change, it might be resisted. Not because the change, the initiative itself wasn't good, but because the people did not understand. And for example, you want to change to people, to change a particular culture. People who still kill in a Kende, in a twin, and they say in the culture in this village we do not entertain twins. Therefore, the Kende must always be killed. And that is not good. So, to change culture is one of the most difficult things, that the managers experience. So, to change behavior at all, you want to change anybody's health and behavior. So, you need PDA, prepare. D, develop a vision, a strategy. Explain it to them. Sell it to them before you implement. Sorry, PDI rather. Okay. Yes, Dukola Wole, what might make a change initiative to fail?
So a change initiative might fail if there is employee resistance.
Yeah, yes.
That is in
She
a
already
government,
said
in a
that.
workplace.
Yes.
Oh, she already said that.
Yes.
Also, another possible thing is if the approach to the change is not from top down, it's top to bottom.
Yes. So
So if you are seeing that your leader himself is not doing, your leader says you should be coming early to work, and he himself is coming late, there's a high tendency that the change will not work. It will fail.
it will not work. If actually the person, the change and the manager himself, if he's actually complicit, you know, you actually roped in. In fact, it is possible he is even the cause of that particular problem. So the change will not happen. Or if it doesn't, even though the oga at the top might have given approval for the change, but if he has anything to protect, any interest to protect, he will make sure that no, that change which he has approved does not happen. Okay, he will work against the change. And that is why you need to actually combine both the formal process of change and the informal, for you to actually carry everybody along so that your change gets the footing that it needs to be implemented. So, as an example, Okna Moses, and are you back now? Can you give us one reason why change initiative might fail? Nifemi Mary, Moses. Okay. Well, there's a question that actually came up last year, and it was a question that I wrote. And I told people that look, and supposing you are working, you are working as an example in a hospital where actually doctors come late to work, ward rounds, uh, uh, the ward rounds are left to the house officers because the consultants and the senior regis don't have time. They are busy running their own clinics. And so the ground ward round is left for the house officers to stand in for the consultants. And then you are the program manager or you are the change engine manager employed specifically in that particular hospital to manage changes. And then that particular question says, outline the steps you will follow to change staff attitude towards improving patient patient care performance. So if you should see that same question again, how will you address it? What steps will you follow, okay, to manage the change that will happen? So, and first of all, you need to choose whether you are going to use the formal or the informal method of a change, or whether you will combine both. And then if it is a formal you will use, you need to actually tell us the model of change management you will follow. Will you use the PDCA or the 5-step model? The 5-step model that says that you request change, you assess the impact of the change, you then seek approval for your change to be approved, and then if it is approved, then you go on to the implementation stage that has 3 other steps. Once it is approved, then you prepare the people, sell a strategy over to them, the goals, the vision, and then before you then go on to now implement, you need to train the team, the approach, the education, and they know that if actually consultants are your bosses, you need to then find formal and informal approaches to get them to accept your change and to cooperate with your change. And so that actually, yes, definitely, you might get a change in management in a question in your exam, and you need to choose which particular model you will use to to actually manage the change. Okay, the management itself is actually more than actually implementation on its own. There are other things that you need to actually consider before implementation, and then there are things that you need to do after implementation, which is the review, to monitor, to review that change, whether it has achieved the desired objectives, the desired gains or not. And then if the desired gains have not been achieved, then the PDCA says then you need to make changes to your plan and you act on it. Do you have any question on what we have covered under change management today? Well, the concept of change, the types of change, and also the method of change, and then the process of change management. So that is what we have covered today. Any questions? Yes, and Nicola Wally, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, there was a part of the steps that I think I missed. I was trying to jot down, so I missed a part of the steps to follow when making a change. You talked about how one should first choose a method of change to use, either formal or informal. Then what model to choose. I feel like I missed a step before the model to use. Then you said after that you seek approval for the change to be approved. And after that, you ensure you get approval, then go to the implementation
Yes,
phase.
yes.
Uh,
So,
I don't know if I feel like I missed the step.
yes. And I said, if you are actually giving in a case study, that is in your exam, and for example, just like I said, you that you are a change the manager in a hospital setting, and then you find, and they say that it is observed that many women who 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 come to deliver in that particular hospital die, you know, uh, and, and then after you that was brought to your attention, you then found out that actually doctors don't come to work on time. The consultants leave even the world rounds to the house officers, to actually monitor, and the house officers who just left the medical school, they are the ones who are deciding the fate of the mothers who have come to deliver, you know. And then now, after you have explored and you have then analyzed that these are the, the underlying pressures responsible for the health outcome. So then how will you bring about the change? How will you effect the change? So I said the way you should approach this question is that, and first of all, okay, you need to actually identify the change, request the change, how to, of course, now request the change. And then I said you need to choose whether you use the formal and a method or route of change, maybe to request the change, or the informal. And then you need to then describe which particular model you will use to actually manage the change. You can actually describe if you want to use the PDCA model that says you plan the change, you implement the change, you do the change, then you check the change, and then you review the change, and then you act on the review, on the check. So that is the PDCA. So you need to use a specific IGNA model as the framework for your change management. Or if you want to use the 5-step IGNA model, which is request, assess, the impact, okay, of that change, and then you actually seek approval for your change. And then once the change is approved by the people who should approve, then you go on to then implement that change following 3 steps. Prepare and develop, and then, so tell us how you will prepare. Tell us how you will develop the visions, the strategies, and how you will actually sell it to the people. Then tell us how you will implement. Will you do it by yourself? Will you use a team? Will you train the team? And then what steps, practical steps, they should follow to change the attitude of the doctors, consultants, who have been implicated in the high death rate of the patients at the hospital. And then after you have then carried out the plan itself that you prepared, and you have carried out the change, then don't forget the last stage of a review. How will you carry out the review to ensure, to actually assess whether the change has happened in the way that you planned? So basically, it is for you to choose which change management model you will use to answer that question. Is it clear now, Kolaole? Is it clear?
Very clear now, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yes. And then I actually heard that the examination board, they have actually decided that your second semester exam will start on the 29th or so of June, which is a Monday. Now, which means they're actually bringing it now forward by about 2 weeks. So,
June or July?
29 June.
Ah,
So, so please, now which means I, who is actually DHOD, and I must start to actually gather questions from your lecturers now. And so that, and I start to look for people who will actually help me to invigilate it at the exams. But I will be on the ground by the grace of God in Ondo, and to come and mark, anchor your scripts, and then to also compile your results. So it's fine. So until tomorrow, if you don't have any other question, so I say thank you so much for your time. So
thank you, sir.
so start to read. Please don't just read just at the outline. If you haven't actually noticed, there are very many people, very many students, MPH students from the M4 set, 2024 set, who are still doing the receipts of some courses with you guys. No, and that was because the failure rate of some of our courses was very, very high last year, and I don't want it not to be repeated. So I am working very hard to actually give you guys the support that you need, because when your examination scripts come over to me, we will mark what we see. We don't see actually people's faces in the examination scripts. So whatever support I will give to you, I will give to you before the exam. But the preparation and your success relies entirely on you. And I really pray that you guys take time off, read beyond the presentation slide, look for books, read more about it, so that you will be able to understand questions and give the appropriate answer, so that you will not come back to be reciting these is the courses again next year. As you can say, Olorumaje, so that that will not be your portion in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much.
Are we going to have a revision session before the exams?
That the revision depends on you guys. Okay, and okay, I think I'm actually thinking all of your lectures should end now this week. So the next week is a seminar for the masters as a student. Then the following week, the seminar for the PhD student. So probably the next week, that is the exam. Any topic that you guys feel you need in a revision in, the lecturers will not call you. You are the people to go and meet those particular lecturers and say, these are our revision weeks. Please, sir, can you take us on this again? And then go to them with questions that are actually specific, so that they address your questions, during that particular session. Now, with me, if you need any revision, you only need to actually come back to me, or go to any lecturer and ask him to give you time to go through certain areas that you guys do not understand. I am begging you, do everything possible so that we don't have any receipts from this set. I want all of you to pass, but I cannot write your assignments and I cannot write your exams for you. So that depends squarely on your effort. So for the revision week, you are the one to search out the lecturers, and then you book revision classes with them. I'm sure they will give you time, and then they will revise whatever topics that you want further with them. Okay?
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, I'll see you tomorrow, and I think it is tomorrow again, 9 a.m., I think. Okay. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.